Hello guys, and welcome to another video, and welcome to a rather blustery Northumberland. Now, I'm back on the coast. I'm right down on the south border of Northumberland, so effectively the other side of this beach is Blythe, and I'm on the north side of the beach, which I believe is pronounced Camis, or Camois, or Cambois, or Cambis. I'm sure it's the correct way to pronounce it, and I'm sure somebody will tell me, but I think it's Camis. The aim of today is that basically I haven't been out since Scotland, so I'm feeling like the need to go and take some photos, but it's a bit blustery. And I'm not really favouring the chances of doing much with my tripod, because I fancy doing some long exposures. I'm not really fancying the likelihood of my tripod stopping sturdy enough for me to get the results I want. So what I'm going to try and do anyways, because everybody raves about just how good the in-body image stabilisation is of the OM systems OM-1, Mark 1 and Mark 2, and of course the old Olympus one. So my aim for today is to leave the tripod in the car and to go and shoot long exposures handheld using my OM-1. Now, I'm not that sure how long a shutter speed I'll be able to do handheld. And I suppose that's the whole point of this trip. I want to have a good idea in my mind of how long I can actually hold this camera handheld. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get 2 to 4 seconds. Anything past that will be a bonus. Anything shorter than 2 seconds, then I'm going to class as a fail, to be honest. So really, there's only one way to find out, and that's to put my coat on and head out along the beach. So I'll catch up with you guys there. It's a wee bit windy. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my camera set up before I hit the beach. So obviously I'm using the OM-1. I've got the 12 to 40mm lens on. I'm going to attach the strap, and I'm going to put it into shutter priority mode. And then the next thing I'm going to do is turn on the built-in ND. Now, my one annoyance with this camera, which is minor, but to get the built-in computational live ND, you have to go into shutter priority. So if I'm in aperture priority, it just disables it. So I have to be in shutter priority, which I generally tend to work on a tripod. And so what that means is I like to work around the aperture. So I like to, example, plant the camera on a tripod, stick it in aperture priority of f8, for example, and then put my filter on or use this and let the camera work out the shutter speed I require. But obviously, that's not going to work with the built-in version, but for today, this is perfect, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put in shutter priority anyway, because I'm handholding the camera. Because I find it, if I'm handholding the camera, I like to be in shutter priority so I can control the shutter speed and let the aperture fall into place. And basically, I obviously need to make sure that the image stabilisation is on, which it is. And I should pretty much be good to go. I've set it on the base ISO 200. So that effectively means is that I will control the shutter speed, and I will also control the ISO. So I will control how sensitive the sensor is to light, and I will control how long I have that shutter open to let light in. And the final part of the exposure triangle obviously is the aperture, which is a case of the lens deciding how much light comes in or doesn't, as the case might be, to balance it all up. So effectively the camera will work out the aperture, which if I was shooting full frame I'd be worried about, but with micro four thirds I tend to not get too stressed about these things. You know, we've got such good depth, front to back depth of field anyway with these sensors, I think that's really one of the advantages of a micro four thirds system, that we get good front to back sharpness, you know, even at smaller apertures as opposed to full frame. You have to be really concerned about it. So yeah, it's all good. Now this is the beauty of using the OM-1 as opposed to the old OM-5 I used to have. It's the fact that I can use the clip and pretty much have a walk around on the beach now and just take shots as I see fit. So if I spin you round, I'm not sure if you can see over there, but there's a nice convenient pipe going out into the distance, so I think that's going to be our first shot. I love this beach, it's just great for this kind of photography. Right, so pretty much I think this shot is going to be a bit of a test shot. Hopefully you guys won't fall over. It's a bit breezy. So we're an ND64. If I bring it down to, we'll try a second. That's giving us F18, which perhaps isn't ideal. I think I'm going to go for a square crop just because, you know me, I love a square crop. It's pretty much a given that it will be a black and white, so I'm going to try and keep this as 1 second, F16. Let's have a look at that shot. So I've just had a flick through in the back of the screen, and to be honest, my hit rate wasn't as good as I would have hoped. So I know it's a little bit breezy, and perhaps I was trying to support you guys at the same time because the camera was wobbling all around, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. But hopefully you've just seen a shot that was sharp, but if you haven't, well, it's not really boding very well. Anyway, I think what I'm going to try and do now is try and compose one this side, exaggerate this pipe going out a little bit, and see if we have a bit better results with this. It's definitely very breezy, but that was half the reason why I chose today to do this shoot, because really, if it wasn't so breezy, I would just be using a tripod because I prefer working with a tripod. But you know, sometimes a tripod just isn't as convenient to use. But I think this could be, if this shot comes out, it could actually be quite nice. Well, again, I'm not entirely happy. I think the hit rate's nowhere near what I would expect. So at the moment, I've got an auto IS. I'm going to do it for all directional shake IS and see if that locks it down a bit better. Because I would thought at 1 second that this would be working. I didn't really expect there to be any issues at 1 second. Right, that looks to be a little bit better. I'm not sure if it's a combination of making sure that the IBIS is locked definitely on in all directions, or simply the fact that I'm trying to get my arms a bit more like this. I'm not sure, but honestly, I would expect to be able to get a second easily. So, whilst the second's still really impressive, I was hoping to go into the 2-4 seconds. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned by the performance at the moment, if I'm being brutally honest. Now I'm wondering if perhaps while I'm holding, not only is it camera shake for me, but also that I'm getting buffeted by the wind, so I don't know if the wind is having a contributing factor. A bit like if my camera was on a tripod and the tripod was hitting the wind. Because obviously the wind's strong enough to blow your camera over, so it's obviously, it is fairly strong, but honestly, I thought I'd be getting more than a second easily. So yeah, and to make matters worse, the location I'm going to, there's some gorgeous posts out in the sea. In fact, I'll put some old shots up now, so because I photographed here before, so it's a lovely spot for this kind of photography. But I know that because the tide's coming in, I'm going to have to switch this lens out to the 40 to 150. So that means it's a longer focal length. Now, as the focal length increases, the chances of me getting a little bit more camera shake is going to increase as well. So yeah, that's a bit of a concern, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out the lens here because I mean, it's a little bit sheltered as opposed to being on the beach where I can get sand and stuff thrown into my camera. So I'm going to swap the lens out now, and then I'm going to head up the beach and try and photograph these posts. Now there are 4 posts here. You can probably see the 3 I've got there, and there's 1 over there, which I hope you can see. I'm narrowing it down to the 3 because I think the rule of odds. I think if you use an odd number of within your composition, for example, 3 posts or 5 posts as opposed to 2 posts or 4 posts, then generally it works a little bit nicer. Now, apologies if it feels like you're looking up my nose, but I've had to put you really low because this wind's really picking up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sequence of shots and I'm going to put them on the screen as I take them. I've got a nice square crop again. I'm focusing the centre post, and we're going to start off with half a second. So half a second is getting me f14. I've got minus compensation of a third of a stop. I think with Micro Four Thirds, I think it's really important that you don't have any highlights clip at all, because you're pretty much scuppered if you do. So I've seen people complain about the dynamic range of Micro Four Thirds. It's not that bad, but you just have to expose it correctly. If you don't expose it correctly, then yeah, you have problems, but you know, just expose your shot correctly. Anyway, I shall stop ranting and let's try and get this shot. Now, you will see from my posture, I'm trying to keep my arms as close to the body, to the elbows. And then that means I hold the camera like this and I'll bring it up, and then it balances against my head. And that almost creates 3 points of contact, my 2 hands and my head, mimicking a tripod. That's the idea. So next up, I'm going for 1 second. Now, you would hope that 1 second would be relatively easy. 1 second, f16. And now let's get into 2 seconds. Now, when I set out to film this video, I was really confident that 2 seconds would actually be really easy. I've got my doubts now, especially coupled with the 40-150 shooting at 50mm, so that's 100mm equivalent full frame. Got my reservations whether this is actually going to work. And now, let's be really silly. 4 seconds. I don't think this will work. Okay, future me here, and I've imported the photos onto the laptop. Haven't looked at them yet, but let's have a quick look through. So there we have half a second. HD, as you can see, nice and sharp, nothing wrong with that. Below, that's 1 second, which is still fine. I'm just sort of showing the ones on this side, but I think acceptable, it's all good. So below, we should be going into the 2 seconds now, which is where I think it might get a bit more dubious. But I think again, that's acceptable. I think if anything, you can see my F number has gone to F22, so maybe a bit of a diffraction on that, to be honest. So I think that would be something for me to keep in mind. Perhaps I should have actually put on a 6x ND as well, combined with the built-in ND filter. So if anything, the softness there could be diffraction. So I think I'll be quite confident with 2 seconds. 4 seconds now, you can see straight away we've got a lot of blur going on there. You know, not bad. I think soft, perhaps not usable to be honest, but we probably have got a combination of diffraction going on here anyway. That's 4 seconds, f22. Yeah, definitely soft. I think I'm not seeing any 4-second shots, which I think are doable. So I think for me, the upper limit probably is 2 seconds. But yeah, I think I'll be quite comfortable with 2 seconds. But let's have a look at the final processed image. Ah, there you are. Right guys, so you've just seen the results. I haven't seen them yet, so I'm not entirely confident with how these videos panned out, I'll be honest. I feel like up to a second I could get away with. 2 seconds, I don't know. I haven't looked, I haven't chimped, I don't know if 2 seconds has worked. 4 seconds, I'll be amazed if 4 seconds has worked. But I don't know, I could be totally wrong. Perhaps the OM-1 is performing some kind of miracle that I just haven't banked on. I'm not sure, you guys have a better idea, but what I will say is there is a lot of photographers that they're a lot more stable with their hands than I am. I've always said that I'm not the most stablest when it comes to hand holding a camera. So, you know, whilst other people might get away with shooting a 60th of a second without IB, so, you know, I always have to go to 125 or 250th. So, you know, you may well do better than me at hand holding a camera. Who knows, but I hope whatever the outcome of this video that you have got something from it and you've got more of an idea about what is achievable using the OM systems, OM-1 or the OM-1 Mark II, which I think has slightly better IBIS. But using either of them, I hope it gives you an idea of what is actually achievable handheld if you want to do long exposures. Anyway guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you next week for another one. Thanks for watching.